Hello everyone and welcome to another Civil Air Patrol video. We have today with us First Lieutenant Bob Roberts, and he's from South Carolina Wing doing a lot of aerospace education on YouTube. So before we get the video started, check out his videos down in the description. Well, I will link his channel, and so subscribe to him if you like my Civil Air Patrol content. You'll probably like his. He also does a bunch of guest speaking. So welcome, sir. It's great to have you here.
Well, thank you very much. I'm happy to be here. Hopefully the weather is treating you well with this big storm that we had coming through.
Oh, you have a storm going on? It's blue skies for me.
Oh, lucky you, lucky you. So well, we are good in Greenville, South Carolina, but our folks to the Texas side and up north, they've been getting hit with a lot of snow. So.
Oh, wow. Oh, I didn't realize that. But okay, everyone stay safe, please. Practice safety. Cold weather injuries are important to avoid. So you are involved with aerospace education by starting a YouTube channel. So could you talk to us a little bit about how you got started with that?
Yeah, so back in, what was it, March, we started seeing, more and more that COVID wasn't going to be self-contained. It looked like it was going to grow and grow and grow, unfortunately. And so about mid-April, early April, the squadrons started shutting down. And so we could no longer do in-person lessons. And then what a lot of the squadrons were doing, the local squadrons, they were starting to scramble. And so they were looking at doing a lot of Microsoft Teams, a lot of Google Meets, and doing a lot of training that way, which is super cool, right? The fact that we even have that ability, we couldn't have done this 20 years ago, right? So this is really great capability that we have available to us. But now my thought was, okay, if we're going to go through the effort, and I guess me personally, if I'm going to go through the effort of putting together a lesson plan that's going to be taught virtually, I might as well make it available for everybody. One of the great things about being on the internet, if you make a video for one person, you made it for everybody. So whether you get one person watches it or you get 2 million people who watch it, it really is about the same amount of work for you. It's YouTube and Google and their servers, they do the extra work to pick up the extra views. But from a content creator standpoint, we don't do anything extra. We just make the best video we can make with the amount of time we have and get it up there. So I made a decision early on to go ahead and try to create videos that were valuable for not just my specific unit, but that were valuable for across Civil Air Patrol. And now I've expanded that to be valuable for Civil Air Patrol, but also be valuable for people outside of Civil Air Patrol. The CAP, our mission for aerospace education, is external as well as internal. So
definitely.
That's kind of the start of the channel.
Well, I just think that it's amazing that you went from, oh yeah, I have to teach a few people aerospace concepts, so I might as well just teach everybody about that, because not everyone would have that kind of mentality. So I think that's really awesome that you're making aerospace education more accessible, because having resources available, I know when I was a cadet, I was like, I wish I could watch a video on this concept because I just don't get it. And by having that as a resource for cadets to study, because aerospace is a little bit more of a challenging concept for some, so having that available is really appreciated. So thank you for getting that started and taking that initiative.
Yeah, my pleasure. And everybody learns differently. So you have the cadets or the senior members or the people outside of CAP that they learn by reading a book, right? And CAP historically has been really good at that, providing materials for people to read and study, as well as aviation in general. Aviation has really been, until the Kings came along and Sporties came along, everything was really either read the book or you had a flight instructor try to teach it to you. There really wasn't much in the middle. And so, a lot of people learn differently, and a lot of people learn better by watching. I know personally myself, I like to learn by watching a concept initially, just to get kind of the groundwork of it, then go read to kind of get the details. And then I like to watch a different video on the same subject to kind of fill in the missing holes. And actually, I think one of the things that's great, because your channel also has some good aerospace content. And I think that one of the things that's really good is, folks could watch, information. If let's say they wanted to watch videos and the only two people they knew were you and I.
Yeah.
Well, for the content that you've made, that, for the areas that you've covered on your channel, they can go watch, your channel or my channel first, go read the information to really kind of absorb now into the brain. And then they can go watch the other person's content. And how we say it, how we explain it is different. And so, somebody may get a different value, the way that they're listening to one versus the other. And honestly, I think that that's really so powerful, to give people those different ways of learning and multiple sources to learn from. So,
Well, I agree that reinforcement, like at RCLS, we were told repetition is the mother of learning. We had to say it 20 times in a row because the instructor was like, you will remember for the rest of your lives that repetition is the mother of learning. And so by repeating the information, by having those different resources, I definitely agree. That's a great way to prepare for tests and be able to apply that knowledge you have to the real world.
yeah, I was working on my master's in education. One of the things they taught us was everybody's different. Some people learn faster. Some people learn, a little bit, take a little longer. That's perfectly fine. But on average, the average person needs 7 times. They have to see the content 7 times, and not 7 times like straight in a row. Like if you did it 7 over 7 different days, and it's a really scientific saying. It's called chunking.
Yeah.
I've never heard of such a scientific word. You expect there's going to be some fancy scientific name for it, but no, they call it chunking. So it's 7 different times, 3 different styles of learning. So whether that's reading, somebody telling you, you teaching it to somebody else. So if you're a cadet listening, if you really want to learn how to learn this material or learn something complicated, teach it to somebody else. One, you're going to immediately find what you don't know. Your brain's going to kind of work around it, but you're going to go back home and you're going to go, okay, I didn't know that as well as I thought I did. And then you're going to go learn it more. So, but yeah, it's just more ways to learn. So
Definitely. So in terms of aerospace education with senior members, what are your recommendations to like deputies for seniors out there who are trying to put together a well-balanced curriculum for their senior members and like engage them during meetings?
So senior members want to be treated like kids. If you have a good program, somebody out there can tell me I'm a liar. I have not seen a senior member yet that doesn't want to do a hands-on lesson just as much as our cadets do. If you want to stand in front of the audience and in front of the senior members, and you want to teach them something, try your best to make it have a hands-on, portion to it, because the senior members will get bored just as fast as the cadets will get bored if it's just somebody standing at the front going blah 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 blah. I think I've heard 30 seconds. You got about 30 seconds to make that impression, when you start that lesson. And if in those first 30 seconds, somebody thinks that you're just going to be up there talking through some slideshow, then guess what? After those 30 seconds, they are going to be thinking about what they're going to have for dinner tonight. The Clemson football game, go Tigers. They're going to just drown out. So you're going to have spent all this time putting together all this beautiful presentation. And even though their eyes may be on you, their minds are, a good portion of them, their minds are going to start drifting unless they are super interested in what you had to talk about. So now if you get them actively engaged and you get their hands involved and you get their minds actively going, it's just every bit as good. And it's just really great. It's the same exact thing with the cadets. And frankly, listen, I don't know about you, but as I'm getting older, I get tired easier. And a lot of our meetings are like 7 to 9, they're later at night. I'm getting ready to go to bed. Like if I can show up to a CAP meeting, listen, if CAP Vanguard. So for those that don't know, Vanguard is one of our uniform suppliers. So Vanguard, if you're listening, make a CAP authorized and approved pajama. Because if we can show up to some of our meetings, and we're just tired, and we could show up in CAP approved pajamas, that might be a win. But
Flight suits are close. Flight suits are
that is
very
true.
close to pajamas. So if you want something that's already approved, then the flight suit is available. But flight suits aren't cheap either, so you'd probably want to get one from like a local thrift shop. I don't
Yeah.
know if people go to thrift shops these days, but
Somebody might be questioning, why does your flight suit look fuzzy?
And
What do
it's
they
the
call
right
those?
color and everything. It's just really, really
That's right.
fuzzy. Oh
It's
yeah.
just really fuzzy.
Getting back a little bit more on track.
Yeah.
How did you first get involved with Civil Air Patrol?
So I started flying when I was in my teens. So I've been flying for quite a while. Not gonna let people know how old I am, but I've been flying for a while. And but I also was really involved in emergency services. So I'm a graduate of the New York Fire Academy, and I was actually president of our fire station. We had actually 3 stations, so our fire department. And so I was really involved in emergency services. And I kind of wanted to see, is there a way I could combine my love for emergency services with, my love for aviation. Civil Air Patrol, was an absolute winner for that. I also had, so I actually, when I first joined CAP, I was actually really involved in the emergency services side. However, being a pilot, we had a composite squadron. So for people that don't know, composite squadron means you have a cadet program plus you have the senior program. You're kind of working together. You don't have just cadets or just senior members. And so, but in the same city, we also had a senior member squadron. And so what that really meant is our composite squadron only had a couple of senior members. And so because I was a pilot and I wasn't on the senior member, squadron side, then that naturally led me into being the aerospace education officer, because there really just was nobody there else to do it. That had, the kind of the background. So that kind of moved me up, and that was up in Rochester, New York. And so up in Rochester, New York, kind of had both hats. We did the emergency services a lot as well as aviation. I will say, coming down to Greenville, South Carolina, my focus is entirely on aerospace education now. I'm looking forward to when COVID's over and we can get back into the woods and the encampments and getting everything for emergency services back up and running. But here in Greenville, we have a very limited, agreements with the local authorities for what we would help with. So the aerospace education piece of it is more, is kind of more valuable to me. So that's kind of how I got involved.
Cool. So you have done a little bit of flying with CAP, right? So how did you get involved in the flying as a senior member?
So up in Rochester, New York, been a while now, but if I remember correctly, at one point we even had 3 airplanes. So I know some squadrons, they battle to try to get 1. But we actually had quite a bit of flying that we did up in the New York area. We had some real specific missions that were pretty common and consistent, above and beyond, the orientation rides and junior ROTC rides, things like that. So we actually had several airplanes, and the one thing is, like, Civil Air Patrol is not a flying club, right? So, and I'll get back to that in a second, but the one good thing about Civil Air Patrol is, if you're a pilot, is you can do 2 things. One, if you're flying missions for Civil Air Patrol or for the Air Force Auxiliary, then those flights are paid for.
Yep.
And so it's like, okay, $150 an hour or free. I'll do the free. Of course, I'll do the free, right? So, so that's really valuable. And you're providing a service, right? So people that are volunteer firefighters, people that, like, anybody in general has that I want to serve mentality. Like, flying is fun. It's really great. It's even better when you have a reason to do it.
Oh yeah.
So, and so Civil Air Patrol, there's lots of great, you can be a mission pilot working with a church. You can help rescue animals. And Civil Air Patrol is another way that you can find a reason to fly. And so that was really the main reason for starting to fly with CAP, was because I wanted to get involved in taking that flying and allowing that skill set to be used. So
Mhm. Okay, very nice. I've gotten to do a little bit of flying with Cap, but I just got my private pilot's license before COVID hit, so I haven't been able to fly as much as I would like to. But
mm,
I think that some people do consider Cap to be a flying club where you can get your private pilot's license through Civil Air Patrol, which isn't necessarily the case as a senior member at this point. So you said you wanted to talk a little bit about that. So what are your
yeah,
thoughts
so
on that?
yeah, we do hear that, right? We do hear that sometimes in general aviation. I'm involved in a couple of forums. And so you'll hear that every once in a while. Somebody will say, like, oh, CAP, it's a flying club. And it's really not. Like if you look at the amount of hours that you spend volunteering per the number of hours that you actually get to spend in an airplane, it is not worth your time. If you think that you're just going to join CAP, and fly their airplanes. It's not that case. As a matter of fact, I actually recommend, and everybody's different, but I actually recommend that you don't touch a Civil Air Patrol airplane for probably at least the first year. You know, get yourself involved in Civil Air Patrol, learn what the organization's about, learn who the people are. There's a lot of people there's a lot of people in CAP, but there's also not a lot of people in CAP. So with a lot of organizations, you might have say 100 people, right? But of that 100 people, 10 are going to be the really active people, right? The other 90 are there to help when they can, and when you ask them to help.
Mm-hmm.
But you're going to have that smaller group of people who are the really active people, and that's true for any volunteer organization.
Mm-hmm.
And so when Civil Air Patrol, become one of those 10 people, become one of the people that gets really involved in CAP for what CAP's missions are. Understand what emergency services looks like for your local area. Learn how you can help at a national level for emergency services. When there's a hurricane, Civil Air Patrol tends to get dispatched to a lot of events. Um, so learn the aerospace education piece. Get involved with that, and then the cadet programs. Get involved with the cadet programs, and then the flying piece of it. It becomes just icing on the cake that you've already built, and then it's really valuable. If you come in thinking, okay, well, I don't really care about all this other stuff, and I'm just going to focus on the flying stuff, it's probably not a good fit long term.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, I agree. There are some members that I've encountered that just join for the flying component, and there is aircrew training. Like if you wanted to participate in funded flying, then there is the ability to become a mission scanner, a mission observer, or an airborne photographer, and CAP will help pay for your training and proficiency flights. But if you want to get your private pilot's license, there really isn't that funding. Like if you already have your private pilot's license, it's a little bit different because you can do like transport flights and help with that once you have a certain number of hours accrued. But I do agree that you shouldn't just join and then try to fly as much as you can without actually learning what the organization is about and getting involved at the unit meetings and activities.
Yep, completely agree. Completely agree.
So you're from South Carolina. What is one unique thing to your wing that you would like to share with our viewers?
Oh, that's tough right now. Let's see. Well, we are the home of the Clemson Tigers, and although we're not playing the national tournament right now. We're sad about that. Ohio State got rid of us after we told Ohio State that we didn't think they were all that good. They came and showed us that was wrong.
Oh.
And so Alabama and Ohio State are playing. So from aerospace perspective, we have a pretty diverse. The state is wide, and we're kind of sandwiched in between, Georgia, Florida, and then the Mid-Atlantic regions like Washington D.C., things of that nature. So, like our area is really nice to fly in. It's like we don't have the extreme heat and humidity like Florida, and we also don't have hardly ever snow. But we do get down into the 20s. So, I came from Rochester, New York, where it was cold 9 months out of the year, but then you go to people that are further south of us in Georgia and Florida, and it's too hot for 9 months out of the year. And I would say between, Virginia, North Carolina, us, we have a really nice temperature, and we do have the Blue Ridge Mountains, which
Mm.
just to the west of us, and so that helps to hold some of the clouds back. So from a flying perspective, we get very little wind, we get very little turbulence, and we get very little clouds.
Well, that's
Um,
nice.
which is really nice. Which on the downside, though, you see from a pilot perspective, I have my instrument rating, but you do see a lot of people getting their commercial license here
Hmm.
without having their instrument
Oh.
because they don't have a lot of day. Because if it's cloudy, they just don't fly that day because they'll fly the next day because
Hmm.
we have a lot of days of sunshine.
Interesting.
Now the other thing is that from a South Carolina perspective is that from an aerospace is we're really trying to build a community, and so I think that that's going to be something that's going to be really big for us. Once COVID is out of here, we're going to be working on a weather balloon, which is we're going to be trying to send up a balloon up to 120,000 feet, to the
Wow.
edge of space, and working with different scientific communities to launch some payloads, and that's going to be a statewide event. Hopefully, if the winds go right, it won't be a multi-state event. I don't want to see the balloon fly up in the North Carolina or in the Georgia. Hopefully, we'll just see it hang around South Carolina.
Hmm.
But that'll be a lot of fun. But other than that, not too much.
Well,
It's
weather balloon is a pretty big thing. Not a lot of wings get to do weather balloon work.
Yeah, we're excited about that. That's going to be some money, but honestly, the problem is the gas,
Oh.
the helium gas. It's like in a shortage.
Hmm.
So like it's hard to actually just buy a can of like a big can of helium gas, enough where you can launch a weather balloon. So if you try buying the little party city little ones, you'd have to buy like 50 of those, 100 of those
Wow.
probably to fill up a weather balloon. But so it's really hard to get the gas. If anybody's out there and you know how to get helium canisters, please let me know. Come to my channel and email me.
Yeah.
I need
Wow.
to figure that out.
Because I thought the
But
helium shortage was getting better because I knew about it like a year or two ago,
mm,
but I didn't realize that was still happening. So I hope it
well, maybe
works
that's
out.
true. I haven't been keeping up with it because when COVID hit, that kind of killed the whole
Oh,
thing.
I
So
haven't looked since COVID.
yeah, so if it's getting better now, that's great. So I'm a fan of that.
Well,
But
if people
that'll be
aren't buying
exciting.
balloons, then there shouldn't be as much of a shortage, right?
That's
No
right.
one's
Yeah,
celebrating.
yeah. No birthday for you.
No birthday for you. Gotta send up the weather balloon.
That's right. That's right. Lieutenant
That's
Roberts needs his weather balloon.
very cool. Do you have any questions for me?
Nope. I just I think it's great that I actually when I was starting, I went on YouTube and I searched Civil Air Patrol, and you were one of the main results I was finding over and over again. So yay, the algorithm loves you at least a little bit.
A little bit,
Um,
yeah.
a little bit. We're all working on that algorithm. So that was really helpful. I really appreciate the work that you've done.
Thank you.
And again, I think that I would say if there's other people that are out there that are in Civil Air Patrol that are putting out Civil Air Patrol type content, let both of us know. We would love to kind of have a little baby YouTuber Civil Air Patrol groupie, as a group of us. That'd be fun. If there's ever a little if we ever get to have another national um uh conference again, where we can go in person,
YouTuber
maybe we
panel.
all go and we have a little YouTuber panel. So,
That'd be funny.
we can act like we're rock stars and people will walk by us going, who are these people? Why do they think they're important? Like we don't know who these people are. Why do they think they matter? Anyways,
Oh.
so but I also will say this: if you are somebody who's interested in doing that, then I would say just start.
Mhm.
Don't worry about the quality of your camera, of your lights, of your audio equipment. Don't worry about all that stuff, right? So they have what's called gear acquisition syndrome, which I have fully now. I have a bad case of it. So every time I get some free money, I go buy some new stuff. But when you're starting, the most important thing is just to start. Embrace the fact that when you start, it's probably going to be horrible. Even for people that don't know, like the big name in YouTube is Mr. Beast. He's one of the big YouTubers, for
Mhm.
the young kids out there. Um, and he had nothing for like 5 years. Like for
Mhm.
5 years, nobody knew he existed. But he started over those 5 years, he just learned. And same thing would be you. So and anybody else watching this, you just accept that your first 50, 100 videos are going to be horrible. You're going to look back at them. I'm at think video is 60ish right now. So I'm
Mhm.
still in the very much the horrible phase. But when I go back and I look at like the first couple videos, it makes me cringe. Um,
Yes. Oh, I feel that.
but I would never get rid of them because that shows your progress and how far you've come, you personally,
Mhm.
as well as anybody else out there. So if you want to get involved, just do it. And then try to focus on one thing that you can improve every time. But just know, I know that you can attest to this too. I get emails daily, from people saying, "Hey, this helped me pass a test," or "I didn't even know about Civil Air Patrol. What do I learn more? How do I get more information about this?" So even if you think that your quality isn't the best, your content can still be really valuable to different people. So make the content and
Mhm.
then worry about the quality as you're making that content. What do you think about that?
Oh, I agree because like, well, that the quality is not going to be good from the beginning. That's an important thing. And then also too finding your niche. So you don't
Right.
necessarily have to make Civil Air Patrol content. Like I was in CAP for a long time before I started making the content. I was just comfortable enough because I've been teaching it so frequently that I was like, this is just secondhand for me, or not secondhand, but it is just a very easy thing for me to make because I'm so comfortable with teaching the material. So if there's something that you know a ton of information about that you're super passionate about and you want to share it with the world, then just do it. Like
Mm.
as as you have said, just get it done, get it started, and don't worry about it at the beginning, and just watch as you progress over time. And like some people have even suggested to me to celebrate 1,000 subscribers, I should revisit my gravity duck video, which was the
Mhm.
first video that I had made, and then try to play through the game again and see how different those two are, just to see how much I have grown in like being able to talk to a camera, being able to engage an audience, and see how like a nervous wreck I was when I first started versus now where I'm more comfortable with you all, with the community.
Yeah, I definitely think that's a really fun idea because I know that you're getting close to that 1,000. So congratulations on that.
Thank
Very
you.
few people that do a YouTube channel stick with it long enough and put up the type of content that gets to 1,000 people. Now, I know we're so used to hearing about people that have the millions of subscribers, hundreds of thousands of subscribers. But if you really think about how many people 1,000 people really is, that's a good size high school,
Oh yeah.
filled with people. So you get so that's a really big accomplishment. Not a lot of people get to there.
And you're
Um,
closing up. Like if you look at the analytics, we're getting pretty close too. So I'm sure within the next 3 to 4 months for you, you'll be hitting that as well at least.
you know what? I'm close enough now that I'm starting to watch it more than I really should. So I think I just passed 750, but we're adding, give or take, about 3 to 5 a day right now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of growing relatively quickly. But what you said, and this is more of a YouTube thing than a Civil Air Patrol thing, but
Yeah.
when you talk about the niche is really important, and I have no idea where the niche is. So I started with all Civil Air Patrol stuff. I definitely am staying in aerospace. That is the whole channel, Aerospace Education. So,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm doing a lot more interviews with folks. I have, if anybody's out there's interested, I have John and Martha King coming on to do an interview with me
Wow.
on the 21st. So just a couple of days here, which is super exciting. And we have had some really fantastic, authors and pilots and other YouTube aviation YouTubers that have come on the show, and I am having so much fun because I don't really geek out too much when I talk to people too much. I kind of feel like I don't care if you're the president or if you're a janitor, you're a human being, and so I really kind of treat you the same. But I will say with aviation, I'm gonna geek out a little bit with John and Martha King. So um so I but so that niche is really important. I'm not really sure what my niche is gonna be yet, but hopefully we'll figure it out. But
Yours is mainly aviation.
Yeah, it is. And I got to figure out, like, it is 95% aviation. Like I do, like if something really big happens in space, then I like when we had Jupiter and Saturn, they had the convergence.
Yeah.
Yep. I did a video on that. Trying to find something that people would be searching about. Just trying to make a video that lots of people would want to see.
Hmm.
The other interesting part is everybody did that video too. So I was not one of the few people. So that's always one of the things. It's like, do you want to be the one person who makes a really niche video that not many people are watching for, but you're the only person they can find it on?
Hmm.
Or do you want to make something that everybody is searching on, but also everybody has a video on?
Hmm.
So you're not going to show up in the rankings. So that's interesting too. But yeah, so mostly it has been aviation. And I know that some of the stuff I'm looking to do in the future is very much aviation. I'm looking to buy an airplane by the end of this year. So when I buy the airplane, I'm definitely gonna be putting a bunch of GoPro cameras in it and trying to do education in the plane. Also, when I do, you ever see the comedian Jerry Seinfeld, and he would pick people up in a
Yeah.
car,
Hmm.
and that's how he would do his interviews.
Like the
Or
comedians in a cab or something like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then the carpool karaoke.
Hmm.
Although I'm not going to make anybody sing inside the
No.
airplane, but but I thought about, for within a certain radius around where I live, see what other aviation people are around, and instead of just doing an interview like this, do an interview inside the airplane.
I
Which
hope you have a good
people would find
microphone.
interesting. Yeah, they actually you can actually plug in a voice recorder into the audio jack in one of the passenger seats behind you,
Oh.
and then that'll record the audio from your headsets.
Oh, that's so
Um,
cool.
and yeah, and if you both are running, noise canceling headsets, it really helps a lot. So,
Hmm.
but I think that that'd be really cool. I think that would be valuable to people. And then also, I've thought about going back and redoing some of the initial aerospace education dimensions modules.
Hmm.
Now that I have a little bit more experience, I haven't shown it yet on the videos, but I have actually built about a week ago. I built my first really big wide green screen.
Mm.
Um, so I'm super excited. So anybody who's seen like the John and Martha King, how they teach, they'll walk like into frame and the video's playing behind them. Um, I don't want to steal that from them, but that's absolutely an inspiration. That comes from them.
Hmm.
So I may look to go back to redo some of the earlier dimensions modules. So I'd be interested for folks, that are watching this. What do you think? I'll keep a track on this video, and if you want to comment down below in this video, I'll keep an eye on it. For those of you that have seen my videos or comment on one of my videos, let me know what you think. Should I go back and update those? What do you think? Your personal opinion.
I've redone one video on my
Okay.
entire channel, and that was my Learn to Lead Chapter 1 video. I
Mhm.
had originally made it where it was a two-part video where I had a PowerPoint and then I talked while the PowerPoint was there, and it was total of 50 minutes of content,
Wow.
which is why I broke it off into two separate videos so that it wasn't super overwhelming for everyone. And it was
Mhm.
also just the fact that I had to prepare to record those videos, and it took a bit of preparation to make sure I was comfortable enough to talk for that long and in depth, basically going through every single thing in chapter 1 of the Learn to Lead books, just to make sure that people felt like they really knew the information.
Mhm.
And I found that it was too in depth, and that most
Right.
people weren't really watching for the full video, and that like the retention, like first 2 or 3 minutes it was there, and then it just dropped exponentially. And I was like, well, if people don't want the in-depth information, what could I do differently here? And so I took a little bit of inspiration from like the game theory channel, where they try to
Mhm.
have like visuals and they'll have definitions and different things moving around. I didn't do it as in depth because they have a ton of editors on their team, and it's
Sure.
very very professional. And for me, when I was making it at the time, I was like, well, I will put in 8 hours of editing
Mhm.
for this 10-minute clip and see what it looks like, and if it's good enough, then I'll post it. And that one is actually at a higher view rate and retention rate than those longer lectures. And so
Good.
after I noticed that I think I made that one maybe 2 years ago now, but I continued that formula of trying to make those very highly edited videos for another 2 more videos, and then I just found it was too much because I was doing the same narration but with more on the screen, and people didn't necessarily say this was helping me learn more, but I would say it's okay to re-record videos as long as you feel like you're adding more value than you had previously done for your viewers. So it's up to you.
It might be better. Yeah, I might be better off making new stuff then. Yeah, but you're right though. Like for people that are watching these things and they don't probably understand. Like you just said the same thing. You said 8 hours, editing a 10-minute video, and that's about right.
Yeah.
For me, it's about most of my aerospace education dimensions modules videos are typically between 12 to 15 minutes, sometimes a little longer. But if it's gonna be longer than that, I did what you did. I cut it up, into multiple videos. Because I think same thing you saw. If you get a cadet, or somebody's trying to learn something and they see 50 minutes, I think as soon as you might have the best content ever. And as soon as they see 50 minutes, they're like, oh, I'm not spending 50 minutes, no matter how good this is. So, that 10 to 15 minute time seems to be a good range. But yeah, that's about it for me too. It's about 8 hours for a 15-minute video. So if I told myself on a Saturday or Sunday, I was going to make a 15-minute video, that would be an 8-hour day to make that 15-minute video. So.
And because of the frequency that I try to post videos, I found that it was not a sustainable model for creating content. So I've adjusted it to be more of like a live lecture where I'm talking directly to the camera and hoping that we're having an engaging one-way discussion in those videos.
And that's so fun to try to do too. Like a lot of times people that are watching the videos are looking at you and me, they're getting the sense that we're looking at each other.
Yeah.
And honestly, you are like in the peripheral of my vision. like I'm looking at the lens of the camera. And so, that's a skill. That feels weird. Like when you first start, somebody could walk into the room and like, why are you talking to yourself? Why are you looking at why are you talking to this camera? You look weird when you're doing it. The next thing is I tried doing this I don't know if you've ever tried this or not. Have you ever tried doing an on location video with your phone or a GoPro or something?
No. No. Nope.
I went to Home Depot just the other day, and I said to myself, you know what? Because I was going to make an air launch vehicle. I'm working on an air launch vehicle for Civil Air Patrol to make a video of that, how to make an air launch. And so I had this whole thought. I'm like, I'm going to do this YouTuber thing.
Oh, no.
I'm almost at 1,000 subscribers. I'm going to up my game. I'm going to get B-roll. I'm going to talk inside of Home Depot while I'm getting this stuff. I got into Home Depot. The first little old lady looked at me like I was some weird guy. And that was the end of that. So I immediately put my phone away. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to go get the tubes and get out of here. Aww. So I give a lot of credit to people that have gotten that, that feel comfortable talking to their cell phones, but I'm not there yet. So.
No, I don't feel a huge need to do that. Most of my content, I'm just teaching stuff where I'm playing a game. And you can't play a game on location, like out in the middle of nowhere, unless I wanted to bring like a laptop and do stuff. Yeah. But since I do it on my desktop PC, normally I don't have a way of moving it around. But
so what's next? So let me turn the question back to you. So what's next for your channel? What are you looking to do next for Civil Air Patrol on your channel?
I'm going to be doing a lot for senior members because I currently have a ton of cadet content or more cadet focused content with the Aerospace Education, Aerospace Dimensions modules and Journey of Flight. I will be making a little bit of coming here shortly. It's just so much information in one textbook that I want to be able to make sure that it is digestible for people who are watching, but also making sure that it's covering some of the main points that they need to know. Like when you take your Jaeger test, you also need to do Journey of Flight. So I want senior members who want to review ahead of time to be able to use that as a resource. So that's one thing. And another thing, I'm also planning on doing some of the professional levels, education and training review. So kind of like discussing some of the things that people might want to know, like what is a cohort? How do you sign up for that? And giving that information to people because I've run into senior members who don't know what that is yet. And that's been implemented since August of 2020. So making sure that people are aware of what that program is, how to get involved with it. If they want to be an instructor, maybe show people how to get involved as an instructor and have that content available for everyone. So those are a few tentative things moving forward. And I'm also developing some games, which will have stuff on the channel shortly too.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a lot of fun. No, I think that's going to be huge. I don't know of anybody out there who's got any good content like that.
I always have one question that I ask everyone, and
Okay.
that is, what, if any, words of wisdom would you like to bestow upon our viewers?
Develop a community. Work on your community. If you have this, it doesn't matter if it's Civil Air Patrol, it doesn't matter if it's aviation, it doesn't matter if it's working out. Everything is better with friends. And you will be more motivated to stick with it. When you run into problems, not if you run into problems, when you run into problems, you will have support around you, and you will have the benefit, not even the benefit, like you will feel the value of yourself when somebody else has a problem that you might have had, 2 years ago, that you now can help somebody else. And honestly, if you're watching this video, you're probably and interested in Civil Air Patrol, you probably have a mindset of service. We hear all the time from our national leaders, service-based leadership. So even at the highest level, right? I do this. I'm a manager in my job. So, my thought isn't what can I tell my staff what to do? My thought is, what can I do how can I serve my staff to make it so they can do their jobs better? And as opposed to what can my staff do to make me look better? I hope my team would, some of them subscribe to my channel, so maybe some of them will see this. Hopefully they would agree with that I'm like that. So just develop that community. Whether, maybe tomorrow it's one person, but that one person becomes two becomes four becomes 8. And before you know it, you're part of a group. And those groups are really how you move along in anything in this world. So, I'm happy to meet you,
Yeah.
right? So I consider you now part of my community, right? And I hope that you consider me now part of your community. So if you had a problem with something that you were doing and you're like, you know what? Maybe Bob has run into this. Let me give, Bob a shout. You have my email address. You have my phone number. Let me give Bob a call, and see if he's run into this, right? And then everybody helps each other. And so, especially if you're going to learn how to be a pilot, aviation is a really small group of people. You think to yourself, oh, I see all these airplanes. But when you really come down to it, especially at a local level, aviation is a really small group of people. And so develop that relationship with that, and they will help you so much. I went flying this last weekend. I had somebody take me up. They were working on their instrument rating. And so they had a CFI with them, and I was just sitting in the back seat. I was doing nothing. I was along for a joyride, right?
Nice.
And actually we got to a point where they had a hard time figuring out how to program something into a Garmin 650. So I had all the plates up on ForeFlight on the back, because I had my RAM mount, on the back window.
Yeah.
And I was just following along where we were, and I had all the approach plates already pulled up, and they were having problems. And they're like, Bob, do you have the approach plate? And I was like, here you go.
Nice.
It was already done. And, so that's just community, that helped, just hanging out and, hanging out with them and talking with everybody. And I learned something, and the CFI asked me a question I totally knew the answer to. And he asked me the question. I answered the question, and I was totally wrong. and that, and if I didn't have that community, I would still be wrong on my opinion of what that answer was. So yeah, no, I just, that's my recommendation. No matter what you're doing, Civil Air Patrol, aviation, aerospace, whatever, just, develop that community, and that'll take you a long way.
That reminds me of a video that's out there. It's called like The First Follower or something like that, where there's just this guy who's dancing, and then when one person follows him, then another person comes, and because of that first follower who really took that initiative to be like, oh, I want to dance too, it got to be like an entire mob of people who are just dancing and having fun. So I definitely think that's a great mentality to just really develop that community and care for other people, because caring for other people is also really important, because we're all humans at the end of the day. So
Yeah, and you know what? And people are really good at figuring out who is acting like they care for you just so they can get something.
mhm.
Yeah, so definitely really try to really care about the people around. Yeah, I mean, you already said it. So just really try to care about your community. Even if it's I will say, we talked about YouTube a little bit here.
Mhm.
Even in the YouTube, when you first start, you start with that one person, right?
Yep.
When you first start,
Normally
other
a
than
family
your
member.
your mom or your dad, right? You get that first subscriber and you get so excited, you're like, hey, I have a subscriber. I have one person, right? One person that doesn't know me, right? You may have a
Mhm.
couple of friends on there, but as soon as you get like that one added subscriber and it wasn't one of your friends, you start
Yeah.
calling your friends. Hey, was this you? Did you just subscribe?
Who is this
And
person?
who's that extra person? And you get I remember it's so funny. You get so excited. And I know that I mean, I don't know you that well personally, but I know you've put a lot of time and effort. You've been doing this for years.
Yeah.
And so for you to get to, I know you've got to be you're going to have a little party when you get to that 1,000. Um, you are. I listen, I know that I've already told my family I'm getting a cake. That's going to say
Mhm.
1,000 on that thing when,
Oh
when
yeah.
I, when I get 1,000.
Oh, you can make it
But
a little play button. That'd be
or
cute.
a little cake play button.
Yes. Oh, that would be so
Yes, I
cute.
agree.
You should do
Oh,
that
that's
with
a
like a
really
little
good idea.
1,000 on it, and it'd be like the red YouTube play button. Yeah.
Oh, I like that. That's
That'd
a
be
super
cute.
good idea. Do that. You're gonna get there before me, so I want to see you do that.
Okay.
So that is gonna be so much fun. Yeah, because you don't get the other play. People think you get those play buttons. You only get a play button until you get to like 100,000, right?
Yeah, it's 100,000, a million, 10 million, and 50 million,
I'm
and
going for the
100
50 million.
million if you get that far.
The diamond or whatever it is, yeah. Or
Yeah.
the sapphire. Anyway.
I don't
But
know.
yeah. So the only thing they give you at 1,000 is an email that says congratulations. You got
Yeah.
1,000. But I super love your idea for the cake, the little play button cake. I think that's a great idea.
Mhm.
I'm gonna steal that. So I think you need to do it first because you're gonna get there first, and then I'm gonna do mine when I get there.
Okay. Sounds
Um,
good.
but yeah, but if you're but going back to community, and then to wrap up kind of that thought. So when you have the community, show your appreciation for your community, whether they're real people in front of you in real life or whether they're virtual community. Um, go for I'm sure you do. I know I do. Everybody who takes the time to ask you something or make a recommendation, answer that, and don't just like blow it off. Answer it like really like that person took time to watch your stuff. Yes, you spent 8 hours to make a 15-minute video, and 3 people are going to watch it and you're going to go, oh, why did I spend 8 hours for something that 3 people are going to make? But what
Mhm.
you don't know is when you show the love for that small little baby start community, those 3 people become 5, 5
Mhm.
becomes 10, 10 becomes 100, 100 becomes 1,000, 1,000 becomes 10,000, so on and so forth. And with YouTube specifically, it ramps up. You see all the time people, they work super hard to get to that first 1,000, and then they get to 10,000 faster than they got to 1,000.
Mhm.
It starts to ramp right up. Part of that is because you start learning what people want to see, and your quality gets better.
That's true.
But the also, but YouTube itself is an algorithm, a search algorithm, and so it knows if you're constantly putting stuff out there. But really embrace that community because that community is going to tell you what they want to see. And so really, really embrace that. So, anyways, so yeah, so I guess I made that the longest answer I could possibly make it.
I
But
appreciate
but
it.
yeah, no, definitely community. That would be the one thing I'd recommend.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, sir, so much. Again, if you viewers, hello, would like to check out any of his content, then I will link it down in the description down below, in addition to some of his social media stuff, if you are interested in checking out some of that social media content. So we really appreciate you being here, sir, and hope to see you in a future video.
All right, sounds great. I want to see your video of your play button cake. I want to see that video. Let me know
Okay.
when that comes out.
Sounds
So,
good. Well, thank you,
all right,
everyone. Bye-bye.
everyone, bye.